Thank you very much. Last year I was honoured to take part in the inaugural Pathways to Politics for Women at UWA. It's a national initiative delivered for the first time in WA in 2024, and it brought together women from all across the state, all across the political spectrum, to build skills, confidence and networks to step into public life. I want to acknowledge the vision of Carol Schwartz AO, Chair of the Trawala Foundation, whose leadership established this program nationally. I also want to recognise the outstanding work of Program Manager Claire Feenan, the shining light of the WA program, and thank my colleague, the Honourable Katrina Stratton, for generously sharing her time and wisdom with the cohort. Here I am, less than a year later, elected in Parliament and ready to work collaboratively with everyone. I was honoured to be asked to speak at this year's cohort, so to help the women get the most out of the program. And as part of this year's cohort, I was excited to see an active Free the Hounds volunteer, Gemma Fiddock. She completed the program, and upon completing the program, we'll deliver a speech within this place. I remember how enormous that feeling was, and now here I am. Today I rise to share some of the key points from her speech with this chamber because they deserve to be heard in the presence of all of you. Now, I will admit this is slightly incredible timing because as I prepared this member's statement, it was going to be a call for a parliamentary inquiry into greyhound racing. And yesterday, that very inquiry was announced. I was absolutely thrilled, and I applaud the Environment and Public Affairs Committee for listening to Free the Hounds, their supporters, the thousands of petitioners, and recognising that this issue deserves investigation. But Gemma's words still deserve to be heard because they show why this inquiry matters. Gemma's Pathway to Politics speech was about greyhounds. She spoke about dogs, not as commodities, but as companions. And like me, she shares her home with these goofy, gentle creatures. So today I speak for Gemma, for Bunny, for Bo, and for my own quirky but beautiful greyhound, Mr. Marble. Those who have been lucky enough to survive the track and now experience the joy of loving homes. Gemma has seen the dark side of this industry that exploits them. Greyhound racing still takes place in WA 6 days a week. More than 1 in 3 dogs will be injured or killed as a direct result of racing. This year already in WA, 56 dogs have been seriously injured, 10 killed on track and 17 were killed shortly afterwards due to their injuries. No other sport would tolerate this injury level. Is this really a sport when the participants cannot consent? This is profiteering at the dog's expense, plain and simple. So to respond to yesterday's statement from the Honourable Phil Scott, I'll ensure he gets a copy of this. Does it sound like they're having fun? Because besides, of course, the dogs would be thrilled and happy to be out of their kennels where they are confined and spend most of their life. Going back to injury rates, even those numbers are fudged. The injury rate is calculated per race start rather than per dog because dogs race multiple times. This artificially dilutes the rate to 3%. Racing and Wagering WA then boasts a 97% safety rate, a convenient but deeply misleading figure. And still, the government supports this so-called sport. In the first half of this year alone, Racing and Wagering WA has handed out over $9 million in prize money, more than $1 million in appearance fees and over $500,000 in breeding bonuses. Just 1% of this funding has been spent on welfare. The job of rehoming and rehabilitation falls to under-resourced grassroots rescue organisations. Through her tireless work with Free the Hounds, Gemma has seen firsthand that these dogs are lucky just to get out alive. I strongly encourage you to look up the Talking Couch Potatoes podcast, which she produces, and it's all about greyhounds. Gemma is right to call this so-called sport what it is, outdated, inhumane and unsustainable. She is right to ask how gambling profits can possibly justify such horrific injury and death. And she's right to question whether these millions could be better spent on real real priorities: our regions, our environment, our public health, and our young people. No dog should have to die for a bet. I echo Gemma's words in this chamber today. Greyhounds deserve better than to suffer and die for entertainment. This loosely titled sport does not deserve public support. And while I welcome yesterday's announcement of an inquiry, we must ensure it delivers the truth, justice and change that these dogs so desperately need.